Blood flow is crucial for healthy sexual function. And when you eat all these plants, bro, like you're gonna have a healthy heart. A healthy heart is hugely connected to a healthy sex life.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This is StewardShift, a show that gives you the tools you need to get the most of your best resources. Your money, your mind, your body, your time.
Welcome back to the StewardShift Show. My name is Troy Solomon Levy, and I am your host. Many people in our audience are wondering, Troy, I know that the only thing that I can steward is not just my money. Yes, we can steward our pocketbooks, we can steward other things, but one of the most important things that we could ever steward is our body. We get one body, we do not get another one. There's not a replacement body that we could ever get. And we have a very special guest on the StewardShift Show today, someone who helps people transition to a plant-based lifestyle. She is a health coach. She's also a holistic nutritionist. We bring to the StewardShift Show, Melissa Webster. Melissa, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Troy.
Of course. Melissa, I've known you for so long, and as long as I've known you, you have been plant-based. And this was like, I think we were teenagers when we first met, or around college or so. That's when you became plant-based, I think.
Right.
What got you into that lifestyle?
Oh, man. Okay, so it all started, and you probably already know this story, but it all started with a turkey. So it was Thanksgiving, and my sister was, preparing the turkey, and she sliced it open. And we saw the most hideous, horrendous looking thing. It was, she's the one who actually saw it. It was a translucent, engorged, hairy looking something. Later on, we realized that it was a parasite waiting to be devoured, by the way. And on that day, I decided to go cold turkey, no pun intended. And I was like, I'm going vegetarian. But my decision, Troy, was made out of fear and not necessarily conviction for my health. And so I went right back to General Gao's Chicken not too long after. And I eventually made my way to Oakwood. And I took a couple of classes there that really convicted me that, I need to go vegan. And so I went vegan, but I did it in a very painful way. I was a processed food junkie. I was eating all the white bread, all the veggie meat, all the sodium-filled stuff, all the sugar, and just like a matter of weeks, really, I ain't exaggerating, I put on 15 pounds. And I developed a really chronic case of cystic acne. And I don't know if you remember, but I had really bad acne, the type that someone would be talking to me and I would just literally start bleeding from my face. And it was painful to go to sleep with it. I developed a couple of other things in the course of that time. And I went on like this for years and years and years until one morning I could hardly get out of bed. I knew that I had to choose something. I had to choose to take care of myself or let my life continue to just go on the way it was. And I called the doctor and I was like, hey, I need to get some tests run because I'm not feeling right. And he did some tests and the news came back that I had leukemia-like indicators in my blood. And he said, we need to run some more tests. When I heard the word leukemia, cancer, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that something had to happen for me to change my life before something happened to me. And so I decided to go all in with plants. It was something that I knew that I had to do. I knew that I was on a lot of processed food, but I didn't realize how bad it was really causing me to be, sick. And I went plant-based, and within 6 months, I went back and I redid my labs, and I had no leukemia-like indicators. And it's been like that to this day. And on top of that, my hair started growing like Rapunzel. My skin cleared up. My asthma left. It was a miracle. And then I was like, you know what? I can't keep this to myself. Like, there are too many people that are dying from things that diet could have cured, right? Like when I think of the Black community, for example, there are a lot of health disparities that disproportionately impact the Black community when compared to non-Blacks. Statistically, Black people have higher rates of many diseases. For example, did you know that Black people are 30% more likely to die from heart disease than our white brothers and sisters? So yes, there is systemic racism. There is a lack of access to quality health care. Socioeconomic factors impact this. But let's put those things aside for a second.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of the major risk factors for this heart disease, a 30% increase, right? Hypertension, obesity, diabetes. All of these things can be easily addressed with a plant-based diet. So I'm here on these streets trying to help people fulfill their God-given purpose without poor health standing in their way. I decided to go plant-based, but I'm like, I need to help people. I need to help people. I need to take people with me because I know what this thing can do. And this is the legacy I'm trying to leave behind.
That's right. And, something as you were speaking, Melissa, something came to mind that, and I've heard this so many times, that, our DNA loads the gun, but our lifestyle pulls the trigger. And I think that there are many diseases and conditions that especially African Americans are preconditioned towards, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a death sentence or that you have to have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your lifestyle can actually reverse some things and prevent things that have historically been in your family.
Oh, yeah. And one of the reasons it's in our family is because we're eating the same plate that our grandma did. Where our grandma ate a certain way, then she passes the recipe down to her daughter. Then her daughter passes the recipe down to their daughter. And it continues like that. So yes, there may be things that we are predisposed to, but for sure, your plate shares a much bigger story, I think, than we give credit to.
Yeah. You said something very, very important, that even though you had been on a plant-based diet, you were still eating processed and even ultra processed foods, and it was affecting you negatively. And I think a lot of times we have these buzzwords, plant-based and other buzzwords in the food industry and whatnot, that don't necessarily take into account the full picture. So I'm going to be very honest with you, Melissa. I have a sugar addiction. Okay. I am addicted. I know it. Right. Like sometimes it feels like I'm on drugs. When I see some Oreos or something, I'm like, my mouth starts watering. And the reality is sugar is a plant, or it comes from a plant. It's plant-based, generally speaking. But when you're eating ultra processed or not eating a balanced diet, or you can be plant-based and not be eating well, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So what tools can we give people who are maybe kind of stuck in a rut thinking, okay, well, if I eat a salad and French fries every day, I'm good. How do we kind of move people along a better trajectory to make better choices? Oh,
yeah. Well, I think number one, you need to think about what you're putting in your mouth and how it's going to impact your body. Because when you eat mindfully, meaning you're thinking about what you're eating and you're being intentional about understanding how it impacts the body, we can make better choices than mindlessly sitting in front of a television screen and popping whatever Oreos in our mouth. I think eating mindfully is a big thing. And I think the second thing is education. Educating ourselves about options. A lot of us don't realize that we have options even on a plant-based diet. I was used to white bread. I was used to, some type of veggie, lots of rice. While you can have those things in moderation, if it's the bulk of what you eat, then you're going to hurt yourself the way I did. And just trying to eat a broad spectrum of things. So I like to look at the plant-based kingdom in this frame: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, which include your beans, your lentils, tubers, which are like yuca, batata, potatoes, nuts, and seeds. And if you can try to eat a little bit of that every day, like from that wide spectrum, you're going to be so much healthier than just focusing on whole grains and that's all you focus on. So just being diverse, making sure you're open to the spectrum of foods in the plant-based kingdom, and also eating mindfully and being very clear about what's going into your mouth. I think all of those are like power tools for anyone.
Got it. This is so good. Now, at the risk of sounding like a conspiracy theorist, I do believe that our healthcare system, if we want to call it that, is very pharmaceutical dependent. It seems like if someone goes to the doctor, most doctors, with some kind of ailment, that one of the first things the doctor's going to say, well, here's some pills, or here, let me write a prescription, instead of, doing the research. Okay, what's your lifestyle looking like? So someone in our audience is probably thinking, I'm doing just fine with my medications. My health is good. Why suggest a plant-based diet to help with healing? What does that do as opposed to pharmaceuticals?
That's an excellent question, because you could just stay there, right? Take the medication and live like that for life. So for starters, 2/3 of US adults take medication. So that's about 66%. If you're not on medication, you're in the minority. So count yourself blessed. And the sad thing is, once you're on medication, Troy, let's say for diabetes or, high blood pressure, it's very hard to come off of that thing. And one of the reasons for this is because medication often treats the symptoms of health issues rather than the root cause. A plant-based lifestyle addresses the root cause, because all this plant food you're ingesting, I'm talking about fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes and tubers and the nuts and the seeds, they're all very nutrient dense, and they support the body's natural healing processes. They're going to reduce your inflammation. They're going to lower your high blood pressure. They're going to improve overall function. And this leads to not short-term success, but this leads to long-term success, lasting health improvements. And might I even mention that a plant-based diet doesn't come with side effects. Medications do. And in fact, you may resolve one thing, right, with the medication, but then, you messed up another, like your liver or your kidney. So you have to go right back to the doctor and get another prescription filled. So it brings you into a place of needing to be dependent on pharmaceuticals if that's all you depend on, right? But if you eat plants, you don't have to worry about the side effects, because it benefits the entire body. So for someone who says that they only want to do medication, that's totally on you. However, you don't have to, because a plant-based diet, just eating God's way, can do so much to the point where it can take you off of your medication and you'll never have to depend on it again.
Have you been hearing about this craze of people taking Ozempic who do not have diabetes? Yeah, but they're taking it for weight loss. What are your thoughts on this?
Ozempic was actually the leading drug last year. I think that was the leading drug that was most purchased in the United States.
Wow.
And mainly for weight loss. Brother, a plant-based diet could do that for you without the side effects that Ozempic gives. Might I add that Ozempic is not free. So you're going to have to, you have to pay money for plants too, but it doesn't compare to, what I'm trying to say is that Ozempic is a medication. You don't need to use medication to lose weight. You can use plants and it's going to have far greater benefits. So yeah, that's a little touchy, the Ozempic thing. Now, if you need medication, I'm not saying don't do medication. If you need medication, then do medication, but don't think that that's the only way, that you have options, better options, cheaper options.
That's right. All right.
Yeah.
Melissa, I got to talk to my fellas, right? And I know that you primarily work with women, that's kind of your focus, but talk to my guys. I have a lot of guys who are watching on YouTube and IG, and anytime you mention plant-based, one of the major questions that I get asked, even though I'm not 100% plant-based, but when I describe my diet and my lifestyle to people, one of the major things that men ask me is, bro, what about protein? Like, where are you getting your protein from? So talk to me about protein and a plant-based diet. I think you had mentioned a few things about legumes and whatnot, but yeah, that's a major concern. Talk to us.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Troy. Especially for men. And like you said, it's the question that I think a lot of vegan and plant-based munchers get. Let me set the record straight for y'all men. Yes, men you can get enough protein on a plant-based diet. Research has shown that I didn't say some, I said all plant foods contain protein. It's in the beans, it's in the grains, it's in the nuts. So protein deficiency is virtually unheard of if you're eating a balanced whole food plant-based diet. The recommended dietary allowance is 56 grams per day of protein for an average adult male, 46 grams for a woman. However, most people get about twice that much in a day. So let's say you ate, and I'm not saying you're going to do this, but let's say you ate the typical, this is, if you, okay, let's just say you ate 2,000 calories a day, okay, which is kind of like average for a lot of people. And all you ate was broccoli, 2,000 calories worth of broccoli. Do you know how much protein you'd be raking in?
I have no idea. I would assume that it's not that much, but that's probably a bad assumption. I don't know.
All right. Wait for it. 146 grams of protein.
Dang. Okay.
So I just told you just need 56 grams for the average adult male, but you're getting almost triple of that in just eating broccoli alone for the day. 2,000 calories. Now, I'm not saying you're going to eat, 2,000 calories worth of broccoli in a day, but that's just to give you a good example of the protein density that exists in some of this plant food. Let's say it was just lentils, 2,000 calories worth of lentils, 156 grams of protein. So what am I trying to say? There's protein in plants. And if you're eating a combination of high protein plant foods throughout the day, so beans and whole grains and nuts and seeds, you're going to be just fine and you'll get all the amino acids you need.
All right. So there's that. We've kind of put that to rest. Now, another major question that fellas are asking is about performance. How do we get our energy? And I think there's this major thing in our society, not just in our society, but probably worldwide at this point, that meat, you need meat in order to get energy, in order to perform well. So we're talking about sports performance. We're also talking about performance, male performance, if you get my drift.
Okay, male performance.
How do
I get it.
plants fit into that equation?
Okay, so I'm going to break that down into two sections. We'll deal with the exercising part and just sports performance, and then we'll deal with the bedroom performance part. So going plant-based is amazing for sports. Amazing for athletes, because just two quick things. You're going to enhance your recovery time. Fruits and vegetables, for example, just really any fruit and vegetable, really, especially the super colorful ones, they're packed with antioxidants. And what antioxidants do is they combat the oxidative stress caused by intense physical activity. So it means that your recovery time is going to be a lot quicker. You're going to get back into the gym quicker. You're going to be on the track quicker, on the field quicker, and you're going to have less muscle soreness. And number two, it reduces inflammation. Like every athlete needs that. Foods like berries and ginger and turmeric and leafy greens, they're super anti-inflammatory. And studies show that people, including athletes, experience lower levels of inflammation and muscle damage compared to those on an omnivorous diet. So a plant-based diet is great for performance. As it relates to bedroom performance, a plant-based diet improves blood flow. And this is the reason why it does is because plants are rich in nitrates. Nitrates are found in foods like spinach, your leafy greens, beets, arugula, which all enhance blood flow throughout the body. And then it enhances the blood flow in your sexual organ. Blood flow is crucial for healthy sexual function. And when you eat all these plants, bro, you're going to have a healthy heart. A healthy heart is hugely connected to a healthy sex life because a healthy heart pumps blood more effectively. Cardiovascular disease is actually a major cause of erectile dysfunction. So if you tell me that plants are going to help my heart, then that's going to get me excited because that means it's also going to bless me in that area of my life, right? I'm thinking if I were a man, I would think that, oh, wow, I'm going to eat plants because this is going to help my heart. And this is also going to help my bedroom activity. And then something that I think a lot of men don't even realize is that when you're low in vitamins and minerals, it can impact your hormones. It can obviously impact your sexual life. I remember it was a couple. The man was like, husband, he was like in his late 20s, Troy, early 30s, and he could not perform in the bedroom. Yikes. And it was really, really hard for the couple. It was suggested that they drink a superfood smoothie. And this smoothie was special because it was super high in zinc. It had tons of pumpkin seeds, which is high in zinc and magnesium. It had flax seeds, hemp seeds, chia, all good for the omegas, some leafy greens. And he was drinking this every day, practically. And I think it was like several months later. It didn't take too long. Wife came back crying, Troy. Why was she crying? Because God had reversed the erectile dysfunction.
Humor me. I don't know. My mind just goes everywhere. Anyways, I'm being horrible. Go ahead. Finish the story, Melissa.
No. God did it, man. God used that food to bring power back to the man. Amen. And he was so blessed because of it. She came back crying. Listen, this is what medication couldn't even do it for the dude.
Yeah.
But the food did. So I'm just, and might I add, like a major cause, several reasons for erectile dysfunction, but one of them is obesity. Mm-hmm. I said the heart, a bad heart, cardiovascular disease, diabetes. All these things are easily overcomable with plants, plant-based diet.
This is so good. And I know my fellas are listening and watching, taking notes, right? So, but another couple of questions that our fellas are going to be wondering about a plant-based diet. What about taste? We love good food, right? If I'm not eating my hot dogs and my burgers and whatever else, am I going to be able to still have my taste buds, sparking?
Yeah. Listen, this is a common concern. You need flavor, especially if you're used to flavorful food. Yeah. But you can take those same flavors and you can just transfer it and put it right onto your tofu or your tempeh or whatever you want. Like, you don't have to sacrifice the flavor. So, Jason, when we started dating, he was definitely not a vegan. And I also didn't want to force him down that path, even though I was meatless, because I knew it had to be a personal conviction. Like, I didn't want to marry a man and then he have a grudge on me because I try to make him a vegan and he still wanted chicken. So I decided that what I would do instead is just to be really intentional about the food that I was making him. And then I started to think about what are the things that he really likes to eat? So mac and cheese, I veganized that thing. Potato salad, I veganized it. And he's from the Caribbean, so he liked his flavorful, Caribbean spices. And I tried to make sure I infused my food with that. Listen, Troy, he was talking to someone several months later about lifestyle and diet. And then the brother says, I'm a vegan. I'm like, what? I almost fell out of my chair. Because as far as I knew, he wasn't. Right. And then I talked to him about it and I was like, so when did this happen? Mm-hmm. And he's like, actually, I like the food. I'm not missing, my chicken and stuff because you make the food taste good. So I just decided that I would go. And so and this is a man who loved his chicken. Okay. He loved his turkey balls and he went plant-based because he liked the food. The flavor was on and popping for him. So you can have flavor in plant-based food. It also taught me that taste buds can adjust.
That's right.
There was actually a study of people who were exposed to lower salt foods for a certain amount of time. I think it was 14 to 16 weeks. And at the end of that period, they were reintroduced to the salt and they didn't even want it. Why? Because their taste buds adjusted. So you have to keep that in mind as well.
Got it. That rings very, very true for me as I've been on my journey, even though I'm not 100% there yet. I have been incorporating a lot more plants into my diet.
How's that going
than what
for
I
you?
used. And so even when I went shopping just a few days ago, I was so tempted to buy like these chips and whatnot. And I was like, man, let me just put these chips down. First of all, because I knew this interview was coming. Number one. I was trying to impress you, Melissa.
It was an HS. It was always.
But besides that, every time I eat these very processed and fried foods and whatnot, I just feel sick after. And I'm like, man, those $4 that I buy those bags of chips with, let me just buy some fruit. And this will be so much healthier for me. And like I said, my taste buds have just been changing. I shared with you last week as we talked that, man, fish, I don't eat fish anymore. But fish, one of the major reasons why I stopped eating is because it didn't taste the same. Like when I was younger, fish tasted a certain way. I don't know if my taste buds are changing or fish is just changing, or maybe both. And I don't know. But stuff just doesn't taste the same anymore. And I think your taste buds do change after a while.
Oh, no, that's real talk. Yeah. They do. I know it happened to me. And even within like the vegan, like just being vegan, which I don't say I'm vegan, I'm plant-based because you can be vegan for so many different reasons. But I'm plant-based because I wanted to be intentional about my health and I wanted to be plant heavy. And that just made a whole big difference for me because when I was vegan, even though I was meatless, my taste buds still liked the high sodium and the oil drenched foods and the chips and all of that. And I didn't know I could transition from that point in my life, but I did. But I did it in baby steps, and eventually I got to this place. So it doesn't happen overnight. But if you're intentional, like you were, when you go to the grocery store and you say, instead of this bag of Ruffles today, I'm going to buy, fruit, and I'm going to enjoy the fruit. It gets easier and easier and easier.
It sure does. All right, one last quick fire question, especially for the guys, and then we're going to come back to our general audience. Is it expensive? We've all been to stores that sell a lot of plants like Whole Foods and other, Oh, yeah. Do you have to increase your budget in order to make this happen?
Yes, you don't have to shop at Whole Paycheck. I call Whole Foods Whole Paycheck sometimes.
I know.
But, I remember hearing a story about a young couple trying to cut down their monthly expenses. And they actually went plant-based because they knew that a meatless diet was actually cheaper for their budget. Okay? So, and this is for several reasons. Lower cost of a lot of plant-based foods is one of the reasons compared to meat. For example, staples like beans, chickpeas, black beans, like a pound of dry beans, if I'm not mistaken, is about $1.50. Sometimes less, sometimes a little more, but like average around $1.50. And that pound of beans can stretch over the course of several days if you're smart about it, compared to a pound of chicken that can be anywhere from $4 to $6. Okay. And we're not even talking about farm raised and organic and all of that. And that's triple the price. And then I'm not even talking about a pound of steak. Like a pound of steak right now goes for about $12 the last time I checked. $12. So if you want to stretch your dollars, I'd stick to the pound of lentils for $1.50, which offers comparable protein content, and I can make it last for several days. Also, on a plant-based diet, you have affordable staples like rice and pasta and oats. These are inexpensive things that you could usually get for about $1.50 a pound. And then fruit and veggies don't have to be expensive. I think that's a myth. And I think part of it is because people think they have to buy all organic foods when you actually don't have to buy all organic foods. You can buy locally grown. You can go to a farmer's market. You can actually grow your stuff in the back of your yard. So much more inexpensive than you think. So a plant-based diet can actually be cheaper than an omnivorous diet.
What's interesting, when Rochelle and I were getting out of debt years and years ago, this was 2016, 2017 or so, we greatly reduced our expenditures. And of course, anyone knows that for a family of 5, food is going to be your hugest expenditure. So we cut out restaurants, generally speaking. I think we may have gone to a restaurant like possibly once a month or so. But Rochelle cooks well. I cook well too.
Yeah.
I don't mind, tooting my own horn. But we did a lot of simple foods to reduce our budget. And back then, I know this sounds almost like impossible now, but we were probably spending about $300 a month on food. And that's how much we reduced our grocery bill. And that's just groceries, not restaurant. The once a month restaurant thing, I don't remember how much that was. But it's about $300 a month for groceries. And we were doing a lot of staple things: brown rice, black beans, just beans in general. Rochelle does this Haitian dish called legumes, which is a very vegetable-based thing, eggplant and carrots and whatnot. So we did a lot of vegetables, a lot of beans, right? Broccoli. It was very, very simple. And when I say we ate that several times a week, and I never got tired of it. Like, I was good. As a matter of fact, as I'm mentioning it, my mouth is like, it's watering right now just thinking about those meals, man.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, we cut out meat. So back at that time, I was still eating fish. I don't really do fish, not much at all anymore.
Yeah.
But we probably did like some salmon possibly once a month. And that was like a major expense. I remember buying salmon. And I'm like, man, this thing is about to blow our grocery bill.
Yes, fish is expensive.
It is. It really, really is. And those plant-based items, those staples were not expensive. When you buy things off season, yes, it does get to, get up there a little bit. And, there's some other factors as well. But what you're saying is totally true. You do not have to go to Whole Paycheck, AKA Whole Foods, spend a whole lot to go plant-based at all.
Yeah. And you can, if you want to go to Whole Paycheck, you can go to Whole Foods if you want. Like, sometimes they have some things that you may want, like an exotic type of fruit that's organic, but you can shop at your regular Publix or HEB or Market Basket. I don't think it's called Market Basket anymore. I don't even know the term now, but it was Market Basket when I was growing up. But you could shop there and shop well and eat well. You don't have to sacrifice and like starve on a plant-based. Not at all.
Yeah.
You could save.
All right, Melissa, 2 quick fire questions. What are your favorite substitutes for meat in a dish? And then what's your quick go-to meal? Like, you're in a pinch, you got 30 minutes, the kids are screaming, Mom, we're hungry. What's your quick go-to meal?
All right. So meat substitute, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. I love my legumes. I love my beans. I love them in my soups and my stews and my salads, and that's my meat substitute for protein. But when I want something like meaty that looks like meat, I use jackfruit. It gives me that like chicken in a taco effect. Or if when I'm making like shepherd's pie with potatoes on top and you slice it and you put the jackfruit nicely seasoned at the bottom, it looks like chicken. It doesn't really taste like chicken, I'll tell you that. What will give me more of the meat taste are mushrooms. They have a meaty texture. They have that umami complex flavor. I have it on my YouTube channel, a walnut taco meat. Is so easy to make, and like, I have yet to hear one person say that they don't like it. So you could try that out, walnut taco meat. Favorite food to cook in a pinch. I have several, but if I got 30 minutes and I want it to be really nutrient dense, where the kids are eating it and they're like, okay, I'm really satisfied, and they don't ask for a snack like an hour later, it's going to be lentils, some type of lentil stew. And in that stew, I'll put a lot of potatoes in there, a lot of carrots, yuca, which, you find that in the Caribbean, but you can get it anywhere. It's kind of like a glorified potato, if you would. And I put that in the stew and I season that thing up. Kids love it. And it could be done in less than 30 minutes because lentils cook really fast.
All right, you heard it. You heard it. There's no reason to have to cook for 2 and 3 hours every single time.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Those days are over. Bye, Felicia.
All right, Mel, we're going to put some scripture on there. Share with us, with the audience, what scripture just kind of really inspires you at this moment in your plant-based journey.
So something that's been inspiring me and inspiring the people that I help, I believe, is 1 Samuel chapter 17. And, it's the story of David and Goliath, by the way. Goliath was pretty presumptuous to think that he was undefeatable. And everyone who thought he couldn't be beat was also presumptuous. And there's a verse I think it's verse 8. I'm not too sure, but I think it's verse 8. And Goliath says, choose a man and have him come down to me. I submit to you, Troy. And I know there's a lot of brothers listening to this, so I'm going to dedicate this to the brothers. That a real man is someone, listen clearly, is someone like David who will allow God to take their pebble stone and sling that thing in the might of the Lord, no matter how small they think they are, and be brave enough to let God fight their battles. What do I mean by that? No matter how big your giant, no matter how much smack that giant is speaking, little is much when God is in it. And when you are submitted to Christ, even if you don't understand it all, giants fall. You hear me? Even if you don't know how to cook the lentils right, the lentil stew I just said, even if you don't have the power you feel to go into the store and say no to a bag of chips, even if all you can give is just one vegetable a day, and if that's more than you've been doing, God can use that thing to slay your high blood pressure. Come on now. Turn your diabetes around. Watch him.
Yes.
Keep believing God. It's a process, but keep believing God through the process. The smaller we make ourselves, the more we humble ourselves, the more room we give him to get the glory and to do something miraculous. In fact, it's in our weakness, his strength is made perfect. So when I think about David and I think about a man who takes that, that little pebble and says, Lord, in the name of Jesus, I don't know how to slay this giant of high blood pressure. I don't know how to slay this giant of erectile dysfunction, but I'm going to take it in the name of the Lord and I'm going to sling it with all my might with these strawberries and with these veggies. I may be crazy to do this, but I believe this in the name of Jesus. God can do something radical, but you have to let him and you have to trust him. So that's been inspiring me.
I love it. And I'm inspired along with you. My audience, our audience is inspired also. This is going to be so good. This is setting someone free, Melissa. And as we help to set people free, there are some shifts that people have to make. God does his thing. God was with David, but David, as you said, had to get 5 stones and actually sling, he had to swing that slingshot around.
Yes, exactly.
What are some shifts that people can make as they hear you, as they are inspired by this message here?
Okay. So a shift you can make is adding one plant-based meal a day to your life. Just one. This might sound like a medium shift, not like a small one, but one plant-based meal a day.
I don't think that's hard, to be honest. You're not asking for someone to do it for 1 week. You're saying one meal per day, let that be plant-based. And that could be as small as a smoothie?
Yes,
okay.
Of course. Yes, I do smoothie bowls. So basically they're thick smoothies that I top with a bunch of nuts and more fruit and stuff. I do that most mornings because I eat a pretty high raw plant-based diet. So it's a great way to get all my raw in there, my leafy greens and my nuts and my, hemp seeds and all that stuff. You can just do one smoothie a day and make that a meal replacement. Make sure it's nutrient dense, right? Make sure it's full of calories. So you're not like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. But you'll find that veggies actually keep you fuller for longer compared to chips, right? That's right. So that's a small shift you can make, one plant-based meal a day.
Nice. Okay, so that's a small shift. What about a big shift? Like someone is a go-getter or someone not just a go-getter, but is kind of maybe like me. Like I said, I'm not 100% plant-based yet, but I am further along in my journey than maybe some in my audience. What's a big shift that I can do, someone like me can do in order to go to the next level?
You want to go to the next level?
Melissa, kinda. Give us the big shift and I'll tell you if I want to go to the next level or not.
Okay. How about 21 days of a plant-based diet? I'm saying go big or go home.
Ooh.
21 days. And why do I say 21? It takes 21 days to form a habit. We all know, a lot of us know this, if not all of us. If you can go plant-based for 21 days, you can go plant-based for 21 months. And if you can go plant-based for 21 months, then in your older years, you'll still be plant-based and be reaping all the benefits because 21 months can turn into 21 years. 21 days of plant-based. That's my big shift.
All right.
Take it or leave it.
I'm Melissa.
Use yourself as an experiment.
I'm gonna take it. Believe it or not, I'm gonna take this.
You are?
I'm gonna take this challenge. I'm gonna take this challenge.
Take the challenge and take some before and after pictures, Troy.
All right.
You know, and for people who deal with insulin situations, you know, like measure what your insulin levels were before you went on the 21-day challenge, and then after, see what the hype is about. If your body responds positively, it could be God kind of nudging and saying, this is the better way to walk in. Yeah. In fact, some people go on a 21-day challenge and they have to stop taking. I'm not telling you to stop taking your medication. I'm not telling people that, but they have to stop taking because they find that their high blood pressure drops so low just from the plants that if they were to introduce the pill on top of that, they'd be too low. So the plant-based medication, you know, I mean, the plant-based food ends up being their medication, and they could just like kind of push their medication to the side. And if you're really sick and you can also be monitored by your doctor and say, hey, can you monitor me during this time? I'm going to do a 21-day plant-based shift in my life. And I'm just kind of using myself as an experiment. And I want to see how this is going to work. So that's the challenge.
Got it. Look, last question, and we do this almost every episode. I want to know, and our audience wants to know, how will this benefit our bottom line? And that bottom line being our pockets, our dollars, our bank accounts. You know, some people assume that it's going to be more expensive to do this. We've already kind of debunked that myth. But how will this affect my bottom line? Can it lower my bottom line, decrease it at all? Where are we on that?
Yeah, well, definitely. We touched on that, right? It can definitely lower your bottom line. And I think it's important to know that you can choose where to spend your money. You can choose to spend it at the grocery store on fruit, or you can spend it at the doctor. The ball is in your court. Last year alone, the United States spent a total of more than $722 billion on prescription drugs. And the leading drugs were for diabetes and weight loss, as we stated before, Ozempic. I think that was like the leading drug. I'm not saying that we shouldn't take medication, because the truth is sometimes we need it. However, medication is too often seen as a fix for issues that lifestyle can heal. Lifestyle change also brings financial savings. And this just, you know, this doesn't even scratch the surface, because think of the impact this has on your 3 boys, on your children, right? Think of how this impacts your community. Think of how this impacts the people who will come after you, the generations that will come after you. So when you think of it from that perspective, like your bottom line, like it's like, I'm going to choose where I spend this money, and I'm going to save money. And not only am I going to save money, I'm going to save generations to come. Good.
All right. So for someone who wants to follow you, and by the way, Melissa, we've been friends for a long time, but just following you on YouTube and on IG has been a blessing to me personally. I want you to know that. Right. And I want my audience to be blessed as well. I want them to subscribe. I want them to follow. Where can they do that?
So you can do that at Choosing My Health on YouTube and Instagram, both platforms. Our home base is YouTube. Check us out there. We got tons of recipes, inspiration, and education for you. And then, of course, Instagram, Choosing My Health.
Nice. And from what I hear, a little birdie told me that you've been working on something behind the scenes for a little while now. I see your hair nice and long, it's flowing. You're coming out with a hair care line.
Yes, I am.
Tell us just a little bit about that and where people can find that.
Yes. So I'm coming out with a hair care line for textured hair. It's a plant-based hair care line that repairs and strengthens textured hair. We're going to be offering targeted growth solutions, formulas, and we're going to make sure that we promote healthy hair from within. And, you know, I don't know if you knew me at this point or if you saw me during this point, but because I was wearing braids as well to kind of hide it, but I lost a lot of my hair. My hair went from kind of like shoulder length to brittle chin length. I couldn't even do a ponytail. And part of it was, you know, because of the health crisis I was in, I had a really bad patch in the back of my head. I remember Jason was actually helping me take my braids down once. And he's like, do you know? And we were dating at this time. He's like, do you know you got a patch in the back of your head? I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like the ground, please swallow me. I felt so embarrassed. But it's a true story. And I after I went plant-based, which I actually kicked off with a juice challenge, which changed my life, I decided that I would go plant-based, and I started making a lot of stuff in my kitchen with the plants that I was eating to kind of bring my hair back to life. Things that I learned from my mom, things that I researched, and my hair really started taking off. So I'm taking a lot of that education and that experience and all that love, and now I'm bottling it for others to also overcome. Yeah. So that's a little about Cressador. You can find more at cressador.com. So that's CRECEDOR.com. We're really excited about it.
This is amazing, Melissa, and we're just super proud of what God has been doing with you and through you for your audience. And we're going to continue to follow and peep what you're doing, and we're going to support. Trust me, we are going to. I can't wait for that hair care line. Even though maybe I need to do some juicing and get some of this hair back. I don't know. But
yeah. If you want to, you look good like that too, bro.
Well, appreciate it. Maybe I'll keep it like this then.
Yeah.
Nah, we appreciate what you've been doing. This has really, really been good. Any final words that you might have for our audience about plant-based lifestyle?
Yeah, I would just say go for it. That's all I got to say. Go for it.
Yeah.
There's nothing to lose. Go for it. Even if it's just 50% plant-based, go for it. And if you need a quick way to reset your body, and I do this, I'm actually running a challenge to do this with women, and it's specifically for hair growth and like clearer skin and weight loss. But do a juice challenge. I'll send you some information so you can put that in the description box for the ladies, the healthy hair juice challenge I'm going to run. But do a juice challenge. Commit to just 3 days, okay? 3 days where you just drink veggie juices, and you do that in a concentrated load. The last person I was working with, bad diabetes. He was losing his eyesight. He called me up and he's like, Melissa, I'm scared. Like, I'm driving and I can hardly see the street signs.
Wow.
Help me. And I'm like, Lord. And then he talked about juicing, and I was like, that's it. And so we put him on 3 days of juicing. I juiced for him, and he took the juices home. And about 3 days later, he called me excited. Why? Because he started seeing the street signs again.
Nice.
Juicing is powerful. So that's a whole different topic, but I have a whole video on juicing and how to do it the right way on Choosing My Health YouTube. If you don't know how to do a juice cleanse, but even if you don't want to go plant-based, but you need like a quick reset, try a juice cleanse to kind of just reset your body, and it promotes tons of healing.
Nice. You heard it here, straight from Melissa Webster's mouth. Choosing my health or your health?
Yes. My health.
Choosing my health. Sorry, wanted to get that correct. Okay. Choosing my health. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel as well as IG. And we have more health stuff to come on the StewardShift channel. Make sure you stay tuned. But this has been a pleasure, Melissa. Thank you so much for being our guest. We are definitely grateful. And until next time, thank you so much for tuning into the StewardShift Show.